Okay.
First speaker is Randy Artman. He was in the Air Force, and he's going to be sharing his story with us.
Well, thank you for inviting me. Never really shared my story as far as my military career, so excuse me if I go back and forth on some things anyways. But I'll start at the beginning with, my dad was in the Air Force. He was right at that time when he went in, he was on a bus, and it was when the Army and Air Force were still together. Some of you may remember that. Now, the guy, the training instructor, I guess, came on the bus and says, what do you guys want? You know, the Army or the Air Force? And my dad chose the Air Force because it was right at that time that they split. And when Army went their separate ways, Air Force went their separate ways. So anyways, and I don't quite remember the year. I never did look it up. Possibly. I don't know exactly. But anyways, so we had a military family. My oldest brother went in the Navy right out of high school in '72. My sister, older than me, a year older, she went in the Army right out of high school. And then I was third in '74. I went in right out of high school. My brother, younger than me, went in the Marines, and then there was 6 of us total. And then my youngest brother, he went in the Army, and my youngest sister, she went in, tried to get in the Navy, but she had a little spot on her eye, and the medical doctors wouldn't approve her for being in the military. But anyways, we all went in, served our country and stuff, and went down to Lackland and San Antonio for basic, went to Shepherd for training, which I learned to be an electrician in the civil engineering squadron. So then I graduated there. Then in January '75, I got to my base, which was at Nellis Air Force Base in Las Vegas, Nevada, which I spent 3.5 years there. So that was cool. You know, I mean, I got in just it was a Cold War, so there was no wars going on. The Vietnam War officially ended in 1975, but the involvement with the military, actually, I think it was '73 that the involvement stopped, you know, as far as all the troops not being there anymore. But then, you know, after they end a war, there's always a time frame that it goes before it's officially ended, just in case something erupts, you know, they can call them back, the troops and everything, back to that time. So anyways, did that. I got out in 1978 and pretty much carried on with my career as an electrician. And then it was approximately, I think, mid-90s, I went back and I went into the reserve, the Air Force Reserve. It was in Pennsylvania. So I picked up where I left off with being an electrician and stuff. But I was really, the base I was at, it was an all reserve base in, what was it? Oh man, where was it? No, not Valley Forge. Geez, I can't remember it right now. But anyways, so I went in, and then about, I don't know, 4, 5, 6 months when I was in, they had the C-130 squadron also there, Willow Grove, Pennsylvania. So I ventured in with that to see if I could get in with the C-130 squadron, you know, and fly and all that fun stuff. So I was able to get in. So I cross-trained from being an electrician to a loadmaster with the C-130 squadron out of Willow Grove. And we went down to Little Rock, Arkansas for training and stuff. That was a lot of fun. So got back, and then we was kind of flying. But anyways, before I go on with that, does anybody here know what the cargo planes are in the Air Force? There's 3 types of cargo planes. You have your C-130s, which are the smallest of them. We have the C-141s, which is a mid-range, which is bigger than the C-130. And then you have the C-5s, which they are the real big ones, which that's where the nose comes up, and they can load in tanks, and their cargo payload is astronomical, but they're very, very huge planes. So I was actually in the smaller one with the C-130, and their payload was peacetime, I think it was like 75,000. But in wartime, it would go up to, I think, 150,000. So, they could push it if they had to. Now, pounds. Yeah, in the plane itself. Now that number's off. It's been quite a while since I even heard that number, and that I've been out of the reserve. But what a loadmaster does, well, let me go this way. You got a pilot, a co-pilot, and a flight engineer, and then you have the loadmaster. Now, the loadmaster takes care of securing the load on the plane, okay? Because when they load all this stuff in, it's mostly usually on pallets, but we also do troop deployments. When you see planes dropping troops off, it's usually the C-130 because they're very a versatile plane. They just lower the ramp and they just jump right out, and stuff. So, but a loadmaster secures the load on the plane. There's certain weight areas. You have to take your center of gravity from the plane itself. Then if you're too heavy, the plane won't be able to get off the ground, okay? Then it just can't lift up because of the weight. So there's a calculation involved, and you have to calculate all the difference, however many pallets you have, and center the weight into the plane so everything is somewhat equal. And it's not tail heavy or like a nose heavy and stuff. So that's basically what the loadmaster does, helps load the plane. And if they do a drop, mid-air drop, that's when they rig the load. There's a hook up by the tail where the ramp goes down, that when they get ready, they'll lower the ramp, and there's a parachute. It's all tied to the hook. You have like a little pilot chute that throws out the rigging. I'm sure you've seen loads come off of planes and that type of stuff. Everybody's seen that before in movies or whatever. It's the same theory, basically. The load, the cord itself, the rigging all drops down, and then with the plane moving, nobody's there because it'll yank you right out. It just goes right out, and you can feel the plane jostle a little bit. I'm sure the pilot, they're used to it, but it's quite an experience. And we had a lot of fun. We did a lot of, most of the fun was on our 2-week deployment. In the reserve, you're there once a month, go through your little training. You're there pretty much for the weekend or whatever. And then you have your 2-week duty every year. You go somewhere. So we went to England, went to Germany, and we did like what they call a junk run, basically. It's where you go to different countries or cities or whatever in Europe and all across in the Middle East. Well, not much in the Middle East, but they'll have a load to take here to this base, to that base. We went to Ramstein and all this kinds of stuff, and it was really a lot of fun. And the biggest fun was we were doing, they're just maneuvers, but they were like almost treetop maneuvers. And it was like 300 off the deck, 300 feet off the deck. So we talked to the pilot and everything, and we were able to, we was tied off for one, okay? But we were able to lower the ramp and go sit on the end of the ramp and watch the treetops just go by. They're going like 200-300 miles an hour, and they're just doing their little maneuvers, flying and doing all this stuff, but sitting on the edge of the ramp. No, we were tied off, but no parachute. But that was about one of the most fun I've ever had, just seeing it, because it's all different when you're up 30,000-40,000 feet. You look down, it's like being in a regular commercial airliner or whatever. But this was a lot different because the ground moves really fast, but it was a lot of fun. And that's pretty much, I got out, and I didn't want to get out just yet, but my job, well, at first I was working for Air Liquide Corporation, which we make liquid oxygen, nitrogen, and argon. And when I first went in the reserve, they were fine with me in there. In fact, they even paid me for the time I missed off of work, which was really cool. But as time went on, they didn't support me as much. So I was afraid of losing my job. Things were changing around with the company. It's a French-owned company, but they were located in South Coatesville, Pennsylvania. They supplied oxygen for Lucan Steel, because the oxygen you need to melt the steel and everything. But anyways, I wanted to get my 20 in, but I wasn't able to because I would have lost my job if I would have stayed in. So I had to kind of get out on that note. But outside of that, it was a fun career being in the military, and it helped me learn electrical work, plus I had an advantage plus I got my wings, being a loadmaster and everything. That's how I got my flight suit, and everything. So basically, that's the stint of my service. Never did get to war. We were ready for war. We would have went to war. Even when I was going through training and everything, we talked about a lot of things were heating up back in the 90s. And there was really talk about seriously going to war or, stuff like that. Because I even asked one guy, he says, well, when are we leaving? That type of thing. But it never did come to fruition, so we never did get to war. But I was ready to go, and stuff like that. But we flew when I was with C-130s. We flew all over the world, basically. Not to Australia. We didn't make it there, or Greenland or that, but mostly across the drink, so to speak. So, any questions?
Yeah, any questions?
Yes, sir.
You keep when you're loading those and you're loading tanks or whatever, and you're parachuting off the back. How do you keep that load from shifting? It's going so much on one side or the other.
We have bungee cords. We got it strapped down on each end to hold it down. No, they come in on pallets. The floor of each of the cargo planes, all three of them, they have indentations that the pallet sits on, and on the side railing, there are hooks. Well, how would you say it? They secure the load, okay, on that, and the load itself doesn't move. Now, the ones that are going to be dropped off the plane, when the pilot says go, when they get the green light to drop the load, those hooks release. And that's what then the rigging and everything comes down. Like the loadmaster actually is ready to pull that lever. This what drops the harness and everything. So he says go, or the green light comes on, then the loads, you drop it, then everything releases for that pallet. Then it flies right out the door. Well, that's what's loaded in or figured out before we take off. All of that's all figured out. Yes, sir.
How many groceries does it take for a tank?
Well, okay, we didn't do tanks. These are perfectly much with the C5. That's probably the C5. Maybe the 141s can handle a tank, but a C-130, we have done smaller vehicles, for stuff, but there's whatever it needs for the parachute to handle the weight going down, 3 or 4, whatever. I really don't know on that.
But they ever drop tanks from?
Oh yeah, I'm sure they have, or maybe not. I don't know for sure. I haven't got into that realm of it. I suppose you could Google it, but in wartime, I'll bet you, where they can't land, there's nowhere to land, and they get a C5 going, they'll drop it. They got chutes big enough to handle the weight on those. Yeah, but in peacetime, sometimes it's a little too dangerous, where they don't really need to. Oh, I will tell you this. I heard this story. You guys, you're going to get a kick out of this. You know the aircraft carriers, right? They do mostly your fighter planes and stuff. Well, this one pilot was asked. He was a C-130 pilot. They wanted him to land on an aircraft carrier. Huh? He didn't want to, but evidently he agreed to and stuff. And he actually landed on it. And you know how the tower part is set aside, and you have on your other side, that's where all the opening is. He said he was about maybe a couple inches from that. He says, I'll never do it again. Just too dangerous. That, I'm guessing they got him off, but no, I understand. I don't know, but I'm sure they got it off somehow. It's just the idea, because I don't know if they could build up speed fast enough. They'd have to be totally empty, you know, and just really blaring. And even with the catapult, I don't know if
they'd have to turn the ship into the wing too, so they had.
Oh, exactly, and
they'd have to set everything up.
Then the ship would have to go as fast as it could, and I imagine it possible, but I don't really know.
Why did he land on a carrier?
Huh?
Why did he land on it? Was he?
They wanted, well, this is a lot had to do with the government. They wanted to know if it could be done.
Because it was there.
Well, you know how the government likes to ad-lib a little? They like to try stuff like that. See if, hey, let's get C-130s out there, you know, land them on the aircraft carrier and you can take off fully loaded and stuff. No, they'd go in the brink. So anyways, any other questions? No.
Obviously, it was not a pilot that came up with that idea.
No, the government kind of coaxed them and stuff. Is that good?
Yeah, that's great.
All right, well, thank you. Thank you.